Oh, man, I hate Mondays.
Nah, man, it's Tuesday.
Wait. What day is it?
You know what day it is. Tuesday. Brewsday Tuesday.
Oh, fuck yeah! It's time for Brewsday Tuesday, brought to you by the Cellar and Six Pack Store. Here's DreZ and Big Nate.
DreZ and Big Nate and Adam. That's right. We are in Studio B for a special Brewsday Tuesday edition of the show. And if you saw me holding up my glass to the wrong, to not the camera, it's because we are in Studio B and the camera angles are a little different than normal. That's, of course, if you're watching on Facebook Live or the YouTube, you'll know it's a little different. But
I'm not even sure what you were holding your glass
well,
up to.
I'm so used to it being right, the camera being right on top of the computer.
I'm so glad
I
we
just
have
did
this
that,
opportunity.
and then I looked like an idiot, I'm sure. But it's radio first and foremost, so thanks for tuning in, and thank you, Adam, for coming in. If you are familiar, there's a little winery called Ironheart that's a hop, skip, and a jump from here, and they had an offshoot. How long has it been? A few years now, right? 5?
Well, no, the tasting room's been open for just over a year now.
The Salty Stash has only been open a year?
Yeah, I mean, we've been working on it forever, but we've only been open.
It feels like it should have been there forever.
Gosh, it feels
Yeah,
like... I guess maybe I'm just thinking of the actual tasting room, but you've been obviously distilling for longer than that.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff, so
yeah.
Maybe that's what I was thinking of. So, but Salty Stash is sort of what would you call that? Like a sister booze company or like
What's
a brand name?
It's a vertical integration from the winery.
Okay.
So it all started because we had a fair amount of waste in the winery process through filtration and racking of the wine, where you end up pouring a lot of perfectly good wine out as part of the normal process. It's just inadvertent. And we captured that waste and began to distill it. And so that's how we got into the brandy business.
I was gonna say it was mainly brandy at first, right?
Yeah, so we still only distill brandy ourselves.
Okay.
But we have since sourced some phenomenal bourbons and whiskeys that we'll try momentarily.
Which is which brings us here today. So you brought, I think, is it 8 different bourbons?
Yeah, so it's actually 4 varieties.
4 varieties
that we have set up a small bench trial that we're going to get your input on today as to whether you like it at lower or higher proof, and that's just the factor that we're going to be.
Maybe he did pick the wrong audience.
Yeah, I already know which one I would say. However, I noticed you did write on the glass which one's 80 proof, which one's 90 proof. Should probably be doing like a blind taste test.
Absolutely.
Because I might be a bit, just in general, I give beers or anything that has a higher ABV, I give it more love and more credit. But or maybe this is a trick. Maybe he put 80 and 90 knowing that it'll be reversed and see if I go with it.
It's like the Princess Bride, and they both had the poison. They're both 90%. We're just testing you. I do want to comment before we go any further. The Salty Stash logo looks so good on these glasses.
It does,
doesn't it?
And
really does.
I love when I drive through and I drive past the tasting room. I love that sign. So
Thank you.
bravo. I think that's a perfect homage to your father and everything you and he have done to the community, for the community. Not to sounds like very accusational, but no, I love seeing that. It's like a familiar, like perfect thing to see.
And for those that don't know, it's just right there in Dublin, right? Off exit 90, is that 98?
Yes, sir.
Yep. So it's really easy to spot. I mean, that's like you said, the sign, you can't miss it really. It's a great standout. So, all right, let's get to drinking some bourbon. So what can you tell me about this?
So first of all, is this a PG show?
I mean, we're on
drinking.
radio, but I mean,
So no.
there's certain
All right.
words you can and can't
So
say.
we intend to brand and label this as the salty old bastard,
Oh, that's totally fine. You can definitely say that.
because we are not this whiskey's daddy, but we are raising it.
All right,
like
I
it.
see that.
I like it.
So we bought this from an incredible source, and we are finishing it in brandy barrels. So it started its life in American charred oak and sat there for 3 years,
Okay.
and has spent the last year in a medium toasted brandy barrel. So our product, our brandy, what was finished in these brandy barrels, also white oak, but medium toasted. And then we transferred the bourbon into those barrels once they were emptied of the brandy. So it's going to get a really spectacular candied fruit note that you may not get in a bourbon by itself. But yeah, so what we have in the glass first is actually a 51% rye whiskey. So you're familiar with the bourbon mash bills, I take it, and there's a very particular bill that the product has to meet to be coined a bourbon.
51% corn, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Right.
So, and these are all bourbon, right? It's all
No.
these. No, it's not all.
So this is
okay.
51% rye.
Okay.
So it doesn't
it's
meet
technically not bourbon.
This is a rye whiskey.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
The
right.
others are all bourbon.
Okay, fair enough. So we're starting with the whiskey, the
Yep.
rye,
Yep.
and then it's all the same brandy barrel that you're putting them in.
No. they're
Okay,
in
so
full-
there's different. So the three different. Sorry, those other bourbons. Is it all the same bourbon, just different brandy barrels?
Different bourbon, different
Oh,
barrels.
so you're mixing it all up, all over,
Yeah,
all
man.
across the board.
Yeah,
Okay, wow.
Yeah. Well, I mean, all or nothing, right?
All right. Okay. Yeah.
So,
a lot
yeah.
of
So,
varieties.
and it is. They are spectacularly different.
Mhm.
So as we taste them, I wish if at the end, if you want to line up 4 glasses, we can try them horizontally too. So right now we're just going to do. We're just trying one variable, and so what's in your glasses? It's the same rye whiskey. One is tempered to 90 proof, which is a higher ABV,
Mhm.
and then the other is tempered to 80 proof. So the higher the proof, the more descriptors I think that you would note in the whiskey.
Mhm.
The lower the proof, it's more drinkable,
Yes.
but not as flavorful.
Mhm.
And so we have to find that nice balance.
Yeah. So yeah, right off the bat, and granted, are my thinking and taste buds and ratings will, I'm sure, just get more and more generous as the show goes on and
Yeah.
we're doing more samples.
Yeah.
But surprisingly, I am a fan of the higher ABV, but that 80 proof is much smoother and easier to drink just straight. If that's, what people, when you think about it, if you're pursuing these beverages, you'd like to think people are drinking it straight. I'm sure you can make a fancy cocktail out of both of them, and then it really won't make too much of a difference.
Yeah.
But we're talking about just drinking it straight, and they're both smooth and delicious. But the 80 proof, it doesn't have as big a bite. If you're looking for the bite, though, which a lot of people like the bite.
So I I haven't had my 90 proof yet. I had the 80 proof. I smelled. Oh, it smells so good. And the 90 proof does smell hotter. I'm intrigued to try it, but that
So-
80 proof is a product I would drink again and again.
Yeah, so I would encourage you to smell them both side by side and
Mhm.
taste them side by side. And just like what you described, the 90 proof is much more aromatic. I mean, I immediately get a ton of vanilla and oak on the nose.
Mine are both gone.
Yeah.
And I thought about doing that, but then I tried the first one, and then I was asking questions and doing it. But all right, the next one I'll definitely do the back to back, like you're saying, and I think I properly rinsed them out. So this is the rye, and then so you have the other ones. They're all bourbon, and then in just I guess different brandy barrels aged. And you said all of them aged the same, 3 years and 1 year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And the difference between the others is the content of the mash bill. So differing percentages of rye and corn.
Okay.
And and one of them is a wheated bourbon. But
Interesting.
Now,
I think the important part when we talk about this, when you smell and taste it, is that you get the traditional notes that you would get from a rye whiskey, that really zesty and peppery note on your tongue. It kind of tickles my tongue, which I don't really care for.
Mm-hmm.
Heavily rye-based whiskey is really not my favorite, but rye lovers really love that characteristic
Well,
about it. But
so it's something we've kind of talked about. Like, what is your go-to if we're talking whiskey, if we're talking liquor? what is your number one like choice?
Salty Stash Brandy.
And
Is
you
there-
can't say that. We're ignoring that. That's out of the equation.
Yeah. Well, I wish that I had a more profound collection of bourbons and whiskey. I've been pretty fortunate to be around a lot of friends that have pretty nice collections, but I can't say that I've tried like everything. But I do
anyone
keep a
can.
bottle of Weller's at the
Mhm.
house, and I really like a wheated bourbon.
Okay.
And so we have a little bit that we sourced and finished in a barrel ourselves, and I think that you guys will appreciate it a lot if you like a wheated bourbon. I have a terrible sweet tooth, and so I really like that sweet and smooth characteristic.
You're in the right room.
You're preaching to the choir, man. Preaching to the choir over
Before
here.
we started this, I brought DreZ a bag of sour Skittles.
Which is the salty and sweet.
Yeah,
You get the best of both
so
worlds.
perfect. But it's one of those that like always blows my mind. You start making wine and then you switch to hard liquor and I don't know. It feels like you've got a lot of irons in the fire,
Oh, it's
Pun-
terrible.
as you
no pun
said
intended.
earlier.
So that's a great segue to go into maybe try the wheat. Is that what's next?
Well, we can go straight
Yeah,
to the
let's-
wheat. I wanted to save the wheat till the end.
Okay. All right. No, let's all right,
Um,
let's not get off. Let's not get off track then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll go to the 21% rye.
Okay.
next.
There we go. That's a good stepping stone. So yeah, we actually when were we talking about rye? It wasn't that long ago, and we were saying like it's not something I seek out. It's kind of like I'm an IPA guy, but every now and then I'll have an amber or a pale ale, and you'll be like, oh man, this is pretty. This is
You
kinda
always
tasty.
forget. It's one of those. I don't seek it out. I don't buy it myself. I
Yeah.
know Evan Williams has a rye
Mhm.
apparently, and
Yeah.
every time I've had it, it's delicious. I've never had a
It's
rye
not, it's
where
not
I'm
gonna
like,
be what I grab though.
Yeah. but every time I've had a rye, I've never been like, why don't I buy this more?
Yeah.
So
I see that.
I truly don't understand.
Yeah, that
Is it marketing? Is it marketing that's killing rye? People associate it with the bread. That's terrible.
Hey,
know,
I'm
it
not
just-
even hating on rye bread, man.
it
can't
is.
do
I think
I can't do
it's-
whole wheat either.
No, see, that's what the difference is.
It's a very unique product, and so it's got a pretty unique flavor profile, and you either love it or you hate it. And I'm not sure that there's like a big middle ground. Like the people that are rye fans seek it, and those that don't care for it shun it. Like that's kind of the way that I see it.
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't know. Maybe I'm just not as picky as other people because I'm sure I've had a rye that I didn't care for, but I've never been like, oh, send it back kind of a thing.
It's the people who give Yelp reviews.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, they're the rye drinkers.
Those dicks.
But if you think, so the last, if you smell them both simultaneously, you'll smell that the higher proof product is definitely more aromatic.
It's richer.
I don't know. Unless you're trying to pull the old switcheroo on me and you put the 80 and the 90 and the 90 and the 80. I almost feel like I get more on the 80.
But I get a really sweet, like
No, I'm
caramel vanilla note on the 90.
good B-roll smelling noises.
Yeah.
No, I know.
Oh, yeah. That's that 80 proof.
This is the Bears
Oh, no.
segue into
So-
ASMR.
This is 21% rye, so it's going to have higher corn content.
Okay.
So it's
Yeah.
going to taste a little sweeter. The other thing that you should notice whenever you're comparing the two is the mouthfeel. So when you push your tongue to the roof of your mouth when the product's in there, does it feel velvety? Does it feel oily? Is it thin? Does it feel like, just straight water or just straight alcohol? So, some of the different components that you're thinking about when you're trying to finish these is how does it feel in your mouth? What part of the tongue do you taste with first? And how long does it last? And then what's it like as you swallow?
You got that hug on the back of that 90.
Mhm.
It's like that slight warmth in your mouth that you get. I like that one better. So this one, I think I like the 90 better.
And that alcohol burn too. A lot of people really seek that alcohol burn.
And it's funny because it's not the throat. It's not the back of the throat. It's more the top of the roof of the mouth and the tongue. than anything for me on this one.
Well,
Mm.
the other thing too that I find really remarkable is a lot of alcohol that you would drink at 90 proof is harsh, difficult to sit here and sip at room temperature.
Yeah.
And this is remarkably smooth.
Super smooth. I didn't even think about that it is, because most of the time when I'm sipping bourbon, there's at least one rock in there, and
Yeah.
it's chilled, and that does help with the smoothness.
Yeah.
If you ever have warm bourbon, like
Yeah.
this past week, a couple weekends ago at the festival where, it's 90 degrees outside and you pull out your flask or whatever, and it's nice and toasty, it's a little bit harder to get down.
It'll gag you.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
doubt.
Yeah. I mean,
But
and
this is very smooth.
yeah. I mean, you're drinking, this is at 68 degrees or, 70 degrees. And so this is, for that temperature, normally you would expect it to kind of take your breath as you swallow, and so I found that it's remarkably smooth. That we have 11 wells on the farm, and we took a sample from all 11 wells, 3 surface springs, distilled water, and store-bought spring water, and performed a bench trial on all of those, and found that the water that's more alkaline has a pH that's more basic, has a sweet character, and actually has a different feel in your mouth. And so we temper all of our spirits with water from a specific well on the farm.
So once you did that little science experiment across the board, you noticed, okay, this one, the basic's a little sweet or whatever. Do you decide, okay, we're going to use this for everything? Or now we're like, all right, we'll use that one for this mix and we'll use this this water for this one?
Well, to be honest, we just use the water that is basic with everything, because that took an entire day to perform the bench trial.
Mm-hmm.
So we had grain neutral spirit, we had aged brandy, and we took each of those sources of water and put together a sample of each of those spirits with that water, and then tried them all. And then that took forever because your palate gets tired.
Yeah.
And so then you have to drink a little water and take a little break and come back and evaluate it again. But we found that a lot of the water, like especially the distilled water, if you mixed it with the grain neutral spirit, you almost got a very chemically medicinal value. It was just a very thin product that didn't have a lot of character in your mouth or in the flavor. And as we got into the waters that had a higher pH, more basic, we found that there was a lot more to offer, and it didn't seem so like chemical like.
Okay.
And so then we just said, well, that's the one.
That's the one to do. Okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
But my question is, so it was a day to do the bench trials, as it were.
Mhm.
Now, at that point, had you already, kind of run everything through, and then you've waited, and then this is just the day, or was it like only a 1-day process?
So, the alcohol runs from the still at 180 proof.
Yeah.
By the time you finish running the still, it's going to be averaging maybe like 165, 168. So that's like, 85% alcohol. So you got to temper that down before you put it into the barrel.
Yep.
If you don't temper it, then we found that it didn't seem to extract as much flavor from the wood, because it's like 100% solvent and no water. So like it's all booze and not much water. And so it didn't have as much color. It didn't have as much flavor. And so the standard is that bourbon is stored in a cask at like 120 proof, or no stronger than 120 proof.
Mhm.
But that water component really helps to pull the flavor from the oak. And so we needed to find out what we wanted to temper the brandy with before it went into the barrel. And then when you extract it from the barrel, you need to temper it down again, because if you've ever had 120 proof alcohol, it's hard to drink unless you've been around a lot of booze.
Yeah.
And so you'll temper it again. You'll add another, 50% more water to it at the end to make it drinkable. And so there's 2 steps. There's 3 steps really. The fermentation, you're adding water. Whenever you're tempering it to barrel it, you're adding water. And then when you temper it to bottle it, you add water. So we performed the bench trial right in the beginning there to find out which water do we want to use throughout the whole process. I found it intriguing too that there was like this whole movement around bottled water and alkaline water. There's like an entire craze about alkaline
So you
water.
can buy alkaline water and it's delicious.
Yeah.
But so is regular bottled water.
So
This ain't a water show, though,
No,
fellas.
but if we back up, do you know why Kentucky's famous for its whiskeys and bourbons?
Alkaline water.
The water?
Limestone water.
Yeah, the lime. Yeah, that's right. I
Limestone
did know
water is alkaline water. So we're in karst topography. We're surrounded by limestone. All of our aquifers are in limestone, and so we have the same water. But some of the wells on our farm are 150 feet deep. Some are 700 feet deep. And so the water aquifers that we're in those wells are different. And the pH of those waters is significantly different. Some are neutral. Some are right on 7. And the water that's in this is like 7.4, 7.5, I think. So like pretty significant in terms of water pH. And it has a big difference.
All right. Well, yeah, I know you were talking about how, you got to give your palate a little break before you try more. So I think that's what we're going to do now. We're going to step aside. We're going to play a song. We're going to try some more of these bourbons. So far, I'm split on the 80-90.
90 second round was better.
I agree. First round, I like the 80 better.
Yeah.
So that's how it stands right now. I'm right there with you on that one.
The rye was 8 lower, and this one you like the higher.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yep. So far.
Make a note.
All right. Start making notes.
He's going to take notes. We're going to play tunes.
We're going to play a tune. We'll come back. We'll drink some more bourbon with Adam from Salty Stash Distillery. We're doing the little trials here on a special Booze Day Tuesday. Stick around.